Today's topic is emotional intelligence and how to build it. One thing that makes humans unique is the complexity of our emotions. While animals feel emotions too, ours are more intense and layered. Plus, we can imagine situations and feel emotions tied to possible future outcomes, whether positive or negative, right now. For example, if you're considering starting a business, you might feel worried about the possibility of failure. Just by imagining this outcome, you experience the emotions associated with it. Or think about a personal scenario, maybe a romantic thought you've had where even imagining it brings an emotional or physical reaction. Our emotions are triggered both by our own thoughts and by interactions with others at work or in personal life. The goal is to recognize, understand, and manage these emotions in a healthy way. Many of us didn't grow up with parents or teachers showing us how to handle emotions effectively. That's why developing emotional intelligence is so valuable, not only for understanding our own emotions, but also for better relating to others around us. Improving emotional intelligence helps you guide your emotions, bring calm, and support those around you. Whether you're a parent, manager, or friend, this skill makes a difference. Emotional intelligence isn't just helpful, it's a skill you can build over time. It strengthens decision-making, enhances relationships, and plays a critical role in personal and career success. Experts believe emotional intelligence is just as important, if not more so, than IQ for achieving success, happiness, and overall well-being. The good news is that, unlike IQ, emotional intelligence can be grown and improved. To start, we'll explore a simple 3-step process for building emotional intelligence. Step 1. Self-awareness. Step 1. Self-awareness. Understanding your emotions is crucial. I feel like I talk about self-awareness almost every episode, and that's because it might be one of the most vital skills we can develop. After all, you can't change something if you aren't aware of it in the first place. Many people think they know themselves, but then they start reading personal development books, seeing a therapist, or diving into self-reflection, and they realize, wow, I didn't know myself at all. They uncover hidden layers, the 5% conscious mind at the surface and the 95% unconscious, often conditioned by past experiences, that influences how we think, feel, and act. Today's world doesn't make this any easier. We're constantly stimulated by technology, our phones, social media, texts, emails, and all the people around us. This flood of input keeps most people so busy doing things that they rarely step back to reflect. They're immersed in the external world, with no time to turn the mirror inward and ask questions like, why am I like this? What impact did my relationship with my parents have on me? Or have I processed past traumas or grief? For instance, someone might not realize they're holding on to unresolved emotions over the loss of a loved one, which could surface unexpectedly when they drink or when they get angry. Most of us aren't aware of these unconscious reactions and behaviors because we're always on the go, constantly distracted. You could have two people who've lived similar lives, even twins, and yet they may be entirely different based on how they internalized and reacted to their experiences. This is why it's so important to step out of the jar to read the label. You've got to pause, pull yourself out of your usual thinking patterns, and ask yourself those deeper questions. It's about getting out of our heads, calming down, and reflecting on why we act a certain way. Why did I react so strongly to that comment? Why did I lose my temper? It's not just a short fuse. That's a habit built over time. It wasn't something you were born with. Self-awareness, the foundation of emotional intelligence, is about recognizing and understanding your emotions, motivations, actions, and behavioral patterns. We are all creatures of habit, largely shaped by past experiences. If you grew up around a calm parent, you might be relaxed when someone cuts you off on the road, brushing it off easily. But if you had a parent who often lost their temper, you might react similarly in those situations. How conscious are you of these patterns? Self-awareness is about tuning into what you're feeling, understanding why, and noticing how those emotions shape your choices and actions, as well as how they affect others around you. To build more self-awareness, let's look at one practical tool I mentioned a few episodes back: stress management journaling. Creating a stress journal can be an incredibly effective way to understand and manage your stress. Stress is an emotion and follows a pattern. What might be incredibly stressful for me could leave you totally unfazed, and vice versa. A stress journal can be a valuable tool to help you recognize what triggers your stress, understand how you respond emotionally, and ultimately develop ways to cope. The goal here is to really get to know yourself. As I always say, knowing yourself reflects the past, while learning yourself is about the present. When you feel heightened emotions, take a moment to ask yourself, what's triggering this? Why do I feel this way? How do I actually feel? What can I do about it? By doing this, you'll start learning more about yourself than ever before. You'll be able to recognize your triggers before they even happen. Sensing those initial signs like a tightening in your chest that stress or anxiety is on the way, you'll remember, oh, I've been here before, and can work on coping mechanisms to handle it. Whenever you get triggered, whether it's anger, sadness, or frustration, approach it with curiosity rather than judgment. Treat yourself like a friend coming to you for advice. If a friend said they lost control over something minor and felt bad about it, you'd listen without judgment or guilt. Though we often fail to give ourselves that same compassion, this journal is a chance to explore your feelings without piling on shame or guilt. Writing down these emotions can be a powerful release, as it's often difficult to untangle thoughts while they're swirling around in your head. When you put it on paper, you can plan, process, and start to understand yourself better. If you're enjoying this episode on emotional intelligence, please give us a like for the YouTube algorithm, and let me know in the comments if there are topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes. One key tip to help build more self-awareness is to keep a stress journal. Use it to write down your emotions, ask why you're feeling that way, and notice patterns. Then, when you're in those stressful moments, slow down and recognize what you're feeling. Cognitive behavioral therapy talks about automatic thoughts. Those responses that happen so quickly we barely notice them. Typically, we become aware of the emotion rather than the thought itself. In those moments, pause and reflect. What am I feeling, and why? Working through these questions helps you process and understand your emotions in real time. One effective way to build self-awareness, although it can be challenging, is by asking for feedback from people you trust. Friends, family, or colleagues may notice behaviors or patterns you aren't fully aware of. Getting these outside perspectives can give valuable insights into who you are and areas where you can grow. When you hear this feedback, it can lead to new realizations, like, I didn't know I did that. This awareness is the first step. The next step is self-regulation, learning to manage your emotions. Managing emotions doesn't mean ignoring them. It means processing them, so they don't build up and lead to unexpected reactions. Another essential skill is self-soothing. We see this instinct in children who find comfort with a favorite toy or blanket. As adults, we often lack these strategies because many of us weren't taught them. Self-soothing helps us stay balanced and handle emotions in challenging situations. To practice self-soothing, start by pausing when intense emotions arise. Holocaust survivor and psychologist Viktor Frankl said that in the space between stimulus and response, we have the power to choose our reaction. This pause helps you respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Next, focus on your breathing. When emotions are high, heart rate and breathing speed up. Research shows that slowing down your breathing for even 30 seconds can reduce your heart rate and help calm your mind. Deep, controlled breaths trigger the relaxation response, allowing you to think more clearly and make better decisions. Remember, when emotions run high, logic often runs low. One way to practice this self-regulation muscle is by incorporating it into your daily routine. When I work out, for example, I push myself hard during a set, reaching a heightened state, and then spend the rest period calming down. I focus on my breathing, close my eyes, and intentionally slow down. This practice, even in small doses, strengthens your ability to self-soothe during intense moments, helping you navigate emotions more effectively in all areas of life. I'm conditioning my body and mind to shift between intense and calm states repeatedly, training myself to calm down as much as possible. This isn't about ignoring emotions, it's about learning to work with them. Exercise, for example, can be an excellent way to train emotionally. Try a quick sprint, get your heart rate up, close your eyes, and see how fast you can calm yourself through deep, intentional breaths. This practice strengthens emotional regulation. Self-soothing is about learning how to move from heightened states to calm ones. Another essential element here is adaptability, becoming more flexible in how you respond emotionally. Emotional training is like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. Trying to change the world to fit our comfort is often the root of anxiety and stress, but the world won't shift for us. Rather than attempting to change those around you, like a family member who's been set in their ways for decades. Focus on how you can adapt to them, instead of letting their behavior upset you. Think of someone who always remains calm, no matter what. That calmness is a skill, honed over time. To develop it yourself, start by accepting that change is the only constant. Instead of resisting, see change as a growth opportunity. I remember coaching a client with a challenging boss who constantly berated her. Since she couldn't quit, I suggested she treat each day at work as an emotional dojo, where she could practice staying calm regardless of her boss's behavior. Over time, her boss's rants no longer disturbed her peace because she realized her inner peace was hers to keep. If family gatherings bring stress, view them as a chance to strengthen your patience and calm. Beyond accepting change, learning from mistakes is vital. You're human. Slip-ups are inevitable. So, if you react poorly or say something you regret, instead of dwelling on it, treat it as a learning experience. Each misstep is an opportunity to improve your reactions. Avoid guilt or shame. Instead, reflect on how you might approach things better next time, allowing yourself to grow rather than feel bogged down by past errors. Take every experience as a chance to learn. Reflect on what went wrong, figure out what you could do differently, adapt, and then keep moving forward. The reality is that we're all part of a community, and especially as a parent, this approach is invaluable. Imagine you're in Walmart, and your child has a meltdown right in the ice cream aisle. This is your moment to calm yourself and find your center. By doing this, you're not just helping yourself, you're also setting an example for your children and those around you. Often, as people start working on themselves and approach self-mastery, others notice and become curious. You might hear things like, "I've noticed you seem a lot calmer lately. What are you doing?" "I've been feeling anxious." And this is where you can genuinely begin to influence others, not by changing them, but by leading by example. People close to you, like your children, friends, family members, or spouse, might begin to seek your guidance. Ultimately, emotions are a part of what makes us human. The question is, how can we embrace them, learn to work with them, and use them to improve our lives? That's today's topic in a nutshell. If you're a fan of this podcast, you might also like, share and subscribe this channel. Level up. How to get focused, stop procrastinating, and upgrade your life. Make it your mission to brighten someone else's day. I appreciate you, and I hope you have an incredible day.